So this short video is about alternative transportation in metro. After this lecture, viewers may be able to know what is alternative transportation and its typical types, and also understand why it is important to know the problems that the alternative transportation faced today. So what is alternative transportation? It basically refers to commuting in any ways other than driving. In this picture, walking, bus, bicycle, and subways are some typical forms of alternative transportation. So why alternative transportation is important? Due to recent climate change and overpopulation, environment problem is serious, and alternative transportation is a good and effective way to reduce pollution, congestion, and delays in order to improve traffic efficiency and increase space utilization, and furthermore to be environment friendly. Here's a table shows the main forms of transportation for US citizens to work in 2010. The light blue represents vehicle or driving, and the others are alternative transportations. Obviously, about 19% of the more residents use vehicle as their major way to work. But however, in other majors, the public transportation or alternative transportation take a large part. Next, we are going to introduce some typical types of alternative transportation. First is walking and biking, which is the most frequently used, but because of the fast pace of recent life and people dislike exercise, walking and biking are susceptible to be ignored. Bus is another typical type. It is effective due to its high capacity and becomes the main form of public transportation in city. In addition, waterways is another alternative transportation, but because of the stream or water limitation, this method only works in few regions. The most famous city that use waterways is Venice.
The next part we are going to introduce is underground and elevated rail. It is an important part for alternative transportation, and we prepared two examples. The first example is called Chinese Suspended Memorial. It operated in 2060, and the capacity for one carriage is 300 to 500, which is larger than bus. It relies the spring at the top to reduce the vibration and noise. The speed can be 80 kilometers per hour, and the climbing ability is up to 100%, which is 3 times than the subway. That means it can be used to transport some heavy goods for people. Besides, the cost is only one-third of the subway, so the price of the ticket is much cheaper. The memorial can be 20 meters above the ground, therefore there is no influence to the vehicles on the ground. Another example of underground rail is New York subway system. The New York subway system is one of the most traveled subway systems in the world, and it ranking at number 7. The subway system serves New York City and other surrounding cities. It started with 28 stations in 1904 and grew into 472 stations in 2017. About 1.757 billion people make use of this system per year. The system features 22 roads and 6,400 subway cars and covering over 665 miles of track.
Next, we are going to introduce train, which is a widely used alternative transportation. The first train in the world was a steam train, invented in 1840. Nowadays, we have the high-speed train, and it is the effective tool with large capacity and high speed on the ground. TGV is a typical literary high-speed train. It is the first high-speed train in Europe. People only need to spend 3.5 hours to travel from Paris to Marseille. Also, TGV undertakes 32% public transport in France. In the meantime, it did a great contribution for reducing greenhouse effects by reducing the emissions of carbon dioxide. At all, there are some problems of the public transportation system. Although the alternative transportation system is very common and easy to take. In fact, it is not. There are some reasons for this phenomenon. First, the mass transit is always with long construction period, costly, and low profitability. Second, because of low effects of public transportation, so many Americans prefer to drive their own cars. Finally, reasons above makes many people used to rely heavily on transportation tolls even for short distance assignments.